Hiking is a fun way to get outdoors, get some exercise, and see some beautiful sights. Right within the Pearce Williams property, there are many trails that you can hike on. Lauren Spicer and many helpers cleared 7 kilometers of trails between 1998 and 1999. Each trail is marked with colors to show which one you are on, along with additional arrows to ensure that lost hikers can find their way back on track. Green arrows point in the direction of the trail, and if you come across a sign with 2 orange arrows, this means that you have reached the halfway mark on the trail. Each trail has a scale of difficulty, with 1 being an easy short walk, 2 being a moderate longer walk with a few hills, and 3 being a more difficult longer walk with several hills. Before you go out hiking, there are a couple of tips and things to keep in mind. First, it's always good to wear sunscreen, bug spray, a good pair of running shoes or hiking boots, and a hat to keep you safe during your hike. It's also a good idea to bring water with you to ensure that you stay nice and hydrated. It's also smart to watch for any plants that you wouldn't want to touch, such as poison ivy. Lastly, after each hike, it's always a good idea to do a critter check, just to make sure you haven't collected any extra critters on yourself during your hike. If you do find something, no need to worry. First, try and flick it away. If it doesn't move, let your guardian or trusted adult know, and they can help you get that sorted out. Let's get started on our first trail. The first trail we are visiting today is Volunteers Trail. Volunteers Trail entrance is located along the forest line behind the archery range. You may have been on Volunteers Trail before if you've ever done the low ropes course. The sign color for Volunteers is red. The trail is 1.1 kilometers in length. It takes about 30 minutes to hike the entire trail. It is rated at difficulty level 2. Volunteers Trail is dedicated to the countless volunteers who have helped build Pearce Williams from where it began to where it is today. What you now see is something unique to the Volunteers Trails within the camp property. The numerous large vines you see hanging from the trees here are grapevines. They grow in the illuminated zone far above the forest floor. Very little light reaches the forest floor, and so this plant has adapted to climb high into trees to get the light it needs for photosynthesis. Vines climb using tendrils, which are modified stems that respond to contact with solid objects by twining around them. Older vines like these have dark, shreddy bark. They are deciduous, losing all of their heart-shaped leaves in the fall and gaining new buds each spring. They take many years to mature and will finally produce green flowers. The next trail we'll be visiting today is Kennedy Trail. Kennedy Trail is located along the forest line at the back of the West Camp field. The signs for Kennedy are purple. The trail is about 1.2 kilometers in length. It takes about 20 minutes to hike it in its entirety. Kennedy Trail is rated at difficulty level 2. It is dedicated to Norma Kennedy. Norma has been associated with Pearce Williams since it opened in 1960 and was instrumental in establishing the first trail system at camp. She served 2 terms on the board and has contributed several volunteer hours over the years, helping with various camp activities. She has always promoted nature appreciation at the camp by leading nature walks, helping to organize the memorial tree project, and taking nature photography to develop postcards to sell for camp. She has a true love for the natural beauty at Pearce Williams. If you've ever walked in the labyrinth that lies within Kennedy Trail, that was actually named after Norma Kennedy, hence the name Norma's Walk. The next trail we'll be visiting is Lurpa. Lurpa runs from the woods behind Old Pierce Pit to Wilderness Camp. Lurpa's signs are green. It is 0.75 kilometers in length. It takes about 20 minutes to hike in its entirety. Lurpa is rated at difficulty level 2. Lurpa is dedicated to April Annette, a late longtime camper and staff member here. Partway through Lurpa, you'll come across a bridge with a creek. The creek that runs through Pearce Williams are tributaries of Talbot Creek, which eventually flow into Port Talbot. Because the creeks here are so small, precipitation dictates the water level, making it higher during spring and lower for the drier seasons. The small creek is an example of a unique and important flowing ecosystem. The plants and animals in this type of habitat have adapted to exist where it is hard to stay in one place without drifting downstream. There are a couple of ways to find evidence of wildlife along this creek. Sometimes small fish are seen underneath the bridge that allows hikers to cross the creek. Take a closer look at the muddy banks. See any small holes? If so, those are actually crayfish holes. You may also see raccoon prints in the mud as they hunt alongside the creek at night. The next trail we'll be hiking today is McConnell, which connects with the Landale-McCready Trail to form a pathway through the woods from an entrance behind the dining hall to the back portion of Lurpa, bringing you back down by Old Pearce Pit. The trail signs for this route are yellow. This hike takes between 10 and 20 minutes to hike, depending how far you decide to go and if you follow the connections. It is rated at difficulty level 1. McConnell Trail is dedicated to Sloan and Betty McConnell. Sloan and Betty have always loved Pearce Williams and have served on the board on and off for several years. Near the end of this trail is Sloan Summit, a popular cookout and sleepout location. This area is named in honor of Sloan McConnell. He planted the evergreens here at the edge of this trail during the time that he was on staff. The final trail we'll be visiting today is Director's Trail. The signs for Director's Trail are black. The trail is 0.9 kilometers in length. It takes about half an hour to hike. It is rated at difficulty level 3. Directors is dedicated to all of the camp directors who have worked at the camp in the past, as well as the board of directors. Turkey vultures are commonly seen along this trail. This trail has many routes to choose from. You will come to a sign with 2 orange ends. This is the halfway point. You can go east to the cemetery or south back to Pearce Hall. If you choose the latter, you will come to a sign with 2 green ends. You can go west up the hill to Pearce Hall or northeast through the gully. If you choose the gully, you will come back to another fork that will either lead you east to the cemetery or loop west back on the trail. Try them all. At the very end of Director's Trail, there is an interesting piece of Pearce Williams history, the cemetery. That's right, there's a cemetery with previous property owners right on the campgrounds. There's about 50 people buried there. The stones are very old, from the 1800s to be specific, and quite hard to read. John Lumley, who is one of the first deed holders of this property, is buried here. He died at the age of 76 on May 12th of 1842. His wife Anne, also buried here, died at the age of 71 on August 29th of 1837. John and Anne emigrated from Yorkshire in 1777 and 1774 respectively, as children with their parents. In 1786, they got married in Nova Scotia. After having 12 children, they came to Upper Canada to expand their land base in the good soil here. We honor these pioneers by preserving their cemetery. It is also worth noting that there are 2 other trails on the Pearce Williams property, Deer Basin Trail and Wilderness Trail, which are currently in need of maintenance, so unfortunately we will not be able to visit them today. Before wrapping up, I thought I would share some things that particularly caught my eye during my time hiking. This is one of my favorite sights on the trails within camp property. This view comes from Volunteers Trail. I always stop for a moment and just try to take it all in whenever I reach this section of the trail. Another one of my favorite views along the trail system here at camp is along the Landale-McCready and McConnell stretch of trail. While there is a similar view to the one on Volunteers which was shown previously, another cool aspect to this specific trail is the fallen tree partway down the path. As you can see, it has fallen and formed a sort of framework that you walk underneath when on the path. While hiking along Kennedy Trail, I found some evidence of nearby wildlife. I spotted this feather right along the trail. While hiking along McConnell Trail, I spotted a friend in a tree nearby. Earlier in our hike, there was another friend spotted. Did you happen to catch it? Today we just went over some of the trails here at camp. However, there's a whole planet of incredible nature that's out there waiting for you to discover it. Be sure to check out different hiking areas or other outdoor spaces you can explore in your area. Happy hiking!